Hey guys, Chris Hansen here. I just did an entire live program that you did not see on my YouTube channel here, Hansen versus Predators. I think there was a hacking issue and some other technical difficulties. I think we had some hacking going on. We've had technical difficulties, obviously, all people do, but this was something we'd never seen before. Technical issues, whether they were hackers or something that we haven't figured out yet. We're going to figure out how we got hacked, but take some precautions so we don't get hacked. Production problems, the hacking, we thought we had it all together.
This fucking guy got paid off. Did you see Chris Hansen's latest Twitter video on you? No, I didn't. Let me see. Latest Twitter video. Let's see.
Can't stop kicking my dog in the nuts. Wow.
Ice Poseidon, modern day streaming SHOCKJOCK, or is there something more disturbing going on Discord? Check out my live show Wednesday, 8 Eastern on my YouTube channel, Hansen versus Predators. All right, I'll be watching.
This fucking guy, dude. This fucking guy, bro. Hey, listen, Chris, how about this? I know you are trying to grow your YouTube channel and get motherfucking become a streamer or whatever the I have no idea. How about this? Why don't you come to Europe with me? Then you can really understand who I really am and what I do. All right, we got a nice comfy bunk bed for you right in the trip. All right, I know you're in debt a little bit with, I don't know, whatever you got arrested for scamming mugs or something. So, bro, we can pay that off. Come on the trip. Or I don't know, you got arrested for like, I don't know, not paying for his merch or something like that. I really have no idea, but I don't know, bro. If you're trying to pay the mugs off, bro, I got you. Don't worry. Come on the trip. Listen, we could take him and go to Amsterdam. We can see what's going on with the sex trafficking over there. Make a real story, bro. Instead of talking about Discord and nonsense.
Chris Hansen, former Dateline NBC journalist known for To Catch a Predator and former hero who brought many comedic justice. Hansen's rise to stardom started in 2004 with his show To Catch a Predator that brought in a very large audience due to its controversial figures that would then be asked to take a seat by our host Chris Hansen. Following this, Chris used his newfound fame to produce Killer Instinct in August 2015 and Crime Watch Daily that aired August 2016. In June 2018, Hansen finished Crime Watch Daily and has since not made any further TV productions. Preceding his rise in late 2004, Chris continued to lose popularity among audiences on TV that inevitably led to the end of his TV career in 2018. Things continued to worsen for Hansen as his wife Mary Joanne of 30 years reportedly left him in the same month he ended Crime Watch Daily. Chris was then reportedly evicted from his New York apartment in January 2019 after he failed to pay rent since August 2018. As Chris's career was now in shambles, he attempted to pick up the shattered pieces of what remained of his image by creating a YouTube series building off his most popular work, To Catch a Predator. With Chris's financial state on its last leg, he decides to literally running dropkick it by bouncing on his boy's check for $13,000 worth of his YouTube merchandise. The shenanigans didn't end here, as he continued to send the same man, Peter Pishopatis, fake checks 3 more times. Hansen even sent his wife, who reportedly divorced him in 2018, to go drop off a check and never showed up. He even went to the length of supposedly selling a boat, but still couldn't make payments and was later arrested after turning himself in. The charges were later dropped after a controversial DJ named Bob Romanek covered Chris's $13,000 debt. Ice Poseidon, formerly known Piss Boy, was aware of this prior to Hansen's message and even proposed paying off the debt and having him on the show instead of talking about Discord and that nonsense.
Hey guys, Chris Hansen here. I just did an entire live program that you did not see on my YouTube channel here, Hansen versus Predators. I think there was a hacking issue and some other technical difficulties. The topic, Ice Poseidon. Paul Denino, who, as you know, is a very popular and famous streamer, but also very controversial. We had some clips of Ice's that I played and commented on.
No, Bjorn. No, Bjorn!
Wait. Stop!
Bjorn, no, Bjorn, come back.
This is how you play.
I apologize for the technical difficulties. I think we had some hacking going on.
Excuse me, are you Ice Poseidon?
Oh, yeah.
Is it okay if I take a picture with you?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Do you watch my streams?
Yeah, I do.
How old are you?
I'm 13.
13? Wow, that's young. All right, let's do it. So, yeah, Kyoto's nice.
Yeah.
Why did y'all come here?
I guess my new school. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Well, have a good day then.
You too.
Chill. Maybe I spoke too soon. Who the fuck are you? Listen, Strawberry fucking Vision, you fuck.
Hello.
Oh, what's up? How you doing?
Good.
You were not lying. You're really that fucking 13-year-old girl from Japan.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so yo, what's up, baby cakes?
Yo, what's up?
Yo, tell these fools in the chat how old you are.
19.
Of course, and tell them how much of a crush you have on your daddy Ice here.
None.
How old are you?
I'm 13.
13? Wow, that's young. All right. You were not lying. You're really that fucking 13-year-old girl from Japan. Yo, tell these fools in the chat how old you are.
19.
Of course. And
oh, so I'm not wrong, but I'm a terrorist. Okay. Fuck you.
This episode was originally titled Hansen Live Episode 19 Ice Poseidon that was prepared to air at 8:00 p.m. September 4th, later changed to Ice Poseidon Update when he changed streams around 8:40 to reschedule for 9 o'clock. During this intermission, we received a few updates around 8:20 from stream moderators that Hansen was having technical difficulties and that they would be resolving soon, thanking us for our patience. 20 minutes later, another mod announced that the stream has been moved to a new one and that it has been rescheduled for 9 o'clock. After avoiding another 15 minutes of my life for the sake of piss boy justice, the man of the hour appears with his opening remarks. He begins with telling us they've done a whole show during their intermission that we did not see, blaming hacking and technical issues. This, however, now raises a few questions. First, if they had no idea they weren't on air, then how did their moderators know to alert us to the problem they were having? Second, I'd like to say hacking and technical issues are two very different things. If he was hacked, I seriously doubt Boomer Boy Chris Hansen or his associate Vince have technological capabilities to fix or prevent someone from attempting something malicious. If someone is seriously attempting to sabotage your footage or stream via DDoS or any other hacking attempt, they are not going to allow you to reschedule and come back on at your desired time. Third, I'd like to know how they can be sure the video clips aren't working if they worked with Hansen and Vincent the first time around, but now they haven't even attempted to see if they work live. If they fixed the stream but can't play the videos now, then they tested it before they fixed the problem that caused them not to be able to play the video, so how do they not know they can play it on air? Now, if technical issues are the case, then they should have realized what the problem was and fixed it. If they didn't fix it, then how did they manage to get back online if that's what was preventing them from broadcasting? Let's go ahead and give Chris a chance here and say that he actually did do an episode for 20 minutes before his mods alerted the chat. Then how did Vincent not realize at any point that they had no chat whatsoever? Because Hansen often asks questions from the chat, as you will see. Lastly, I'd like to propose an idea that we will come back to towards the end of this video. I believe the videos in question that Chris Hansen is referring to are the videos I have provided for you, including the video that started it all with Ice exposing himself on livestream speaking sexually to Strawberry Vision. These are about the only clips that have any involvement in Poseidon's case that Hansen has been investigating. We'll touch back on this with Memology's comment later in the video. As you will see throughout the rest of this video though, Hansen only makes one comment on Strawberry Vision, and that is calling her 19 during the first question.
We also talked about a conversation I had earlier today with Ice, which was, pretty straight up and forward.
I'm getting about 30 calls about you on my phone, and I'm a gangster. So you better fucking leave here right now before there's trouble for yourself. You understand that? You're fucking with the mob over here. You better leave now. Got it?
I apologize.
You better leave now.
What's going on?
The sooner you leave, the better.
Okay. I will be gone then. I will be gone.
You're not gone yet. As soon as you go, you gotta go now.
I will be gone.
He did not want to appear on tonight's show for a number of different reasons, but he was very honest that he was changing directions a little bit with his content.
Was that a shot? Hello? It's not fake, dude. It's fake. It's fake, dude. It's not real. Oh, shit.
And he thought that maybe he was going to get a hard time from some of the people in the subreddit community and on Discord. He's already been the target of a lot of swatting and a lot of abuse and allegations.
What are you guys doing?
Leave. You need to leave.
What are you guys
Goodbye.
doing? What's going on?
Bye.
What's happening here?
You guys have to have consent to have people on your
Oh no, don't worry. I'm fucking both these girls. Don't worry.
Oh, why?
I just agree. I'm like, yeah, I fucked her. I fucked you. I fucked who? I fucked. Yeah, who gives a shit? What the fuck's a resort care? When you're fucking jealous?
She's fucking been out with you, dude. When we're fucking.
Yeah. No shit, cause I'm fucking hot. What you mean? Yo, yo, yo. What's up, car full of peoples? How you doing?
I don't like you.
Why?
Wow, so that's how you do it?
In this clip, Chris continues his story that he previously did in an entire show and reiterates his conversation with Ice. Hansen says Ice Poseidon did not want to appear on tonight's show for a number of different reasons, and then defended him by saying he was very honest that he was changing directions a little bit with his content. So let me get this straight. Chris Hansen, investigative reporter, is going to start taking the word from his suspect. Last time I checked, the whole point of an investigation is to find evidence. Yet, you are calling a man who is known for his lack of honesty honest. Chris then proceeds his recollection of the conversation by saying that Ice was afraid of getting a hard time for coming on the show tonight. This is absolutely ridiculous that Hansen would actually agree to that. He would be the first person to tell you that if you're afraid of getting a hard time for coming on the show, then that must mean there is inadequate evidence to support your innocence and that you have evidence already stacked against you. Finally, Hansen entirely defends Paul by referring to him as the victim of abuse and allegations. Yes, I can agree that it is wrong to attack Paul with swatting and false allegations. However, the entire reason you called Paul Denino out was because of his Discord conversation with a 13-year-old Strawberry Vision. Also, I thought this was supposed to be about your conversation with Ice Poseidon and not about how Paul has been a victim in the past for unrelated events. With Chris's past experience as a professional journalist and on To Catch a Predator, you would think he realizes that if you're innocent, you should have no shame in coming on to talk. That's a rule of thumb for all criminal investigations.
Obviously, Ice has been criticized for different things, including
You cheated on me, Missouri. You cheated on me with what I thought was one of my really good friends, and I still stick up for you, and I still fucking try to talk to the fucking security and have your fucking
Listen,
back.
Caroline,
I'm gonna call right now.
Listen, no one's cheating on you, okay? I just have sex with you. It's like not even a thing like that. Like, you're fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna call the pool for it.
Listen, just shut the fuck up and go get a key.
I'm not getting the key. I'm gonna go talk to the guy. They're giving me a free cop room because they say they think
They're giving you a free cop
they think you're
room?
dangerous.
You're
Because you were like going, I fuck her, I fuck her, I fuck
That's
her.
dangerous.
language involving underage girls, commenting on news clips where a 9-year-old was coached into undressing by someone online, saying it was her fault.
Dude.
Okay, then you just lied to him about us and about fucking all of them saying we're dangerous and shit.
I didn't say you were dangerous.
Well, you're gonna. Why don't I get a free room?
He said he has a high clientele resort. He said he's a high clientele. He said he has a high clientele resort, and that he doesn't condone guys going around with a selfie stick going, I fuck her, I fuck her, I fuck her. He goes.
There's a video floating around of him allegedly, dancing around with a 14-year-old girl, a girl who says she's 14.
You're like fucking whining and crying. Fucking Kelly, that's what you do.
Do you know why I was upset about that? And also,
You're always fucking upset.
I was upset because you fucked Kaylee because you know why. And I was drinking a
We did not have sex. We did not have sex. We did
No,
not have
you're
sex.
right. We did. You're right. We did it. No. We did. No, we did it.
So what do you want me to do?
We did it.
Can you say, like, we did not have sex.
Do you
That
guys want
did
me to
not happen.
And talk of young girls in general, and 12 is the new 18. So
Here we have Chris listing Paul Denino's past controversies from commenting on a news clip about a 9-year-old to a video of him allegedly dancing with a 14-year-old. With those said, he made no attempt to even mention or allude to Strawberry Vision's presence in this case. Instead of bringing up anything actually relevant to this case that has evidence, he'd rather speak on events that are not related to any real child exploitation. He then calls it all a publicity stunt in the next clip, while we have real evidence of Ice Poseidon's actions in this case.
all of that being said, the question is, does he just do this for shock value and subscribers and viewers? I think that's probably a big part of it. Does any of it cross the line taste-wise?
So how does that make any sense?
My friend Chico and I used to fuck all the time as a joke.
Why?
As a joke.
You don't fuck as a joke.
Okay, bro.
You fuck as a joke. Like, it's fucking hilarious. Oh, ha ha, I'm fucking you. It's not a fucking joke is ridiculous.
Dude, what do you have, no friends?
I don't get it. I don't like it, but I don't have to. It's his First Amendment right to do things like that. And I really want to explore this further. So what I'm going to do is we're going to figure out how we got hacked, what happened. We're going to figure out a way to play the videos in the next show. And Vincent and I are going to sit down and go through all that right now. And again, I apologize for the technical issues, whether they were hackers or something that we haven't figured out yet. But we are live now. I guess we could probably take some questions, but I really feel bad about, having done the whole show with video clips that based upon the way we got back on the air here cannot be played right now.
Get out here. Get out here.
What's up?
Get out here. Right now.
Okay.
This your shit?
Okay.
So I guess my gut is, and I'm just thinking this out as we go along, my gut is to figure it all out. And I'll put a bulletin out as to when we're actually going to do the show. I know we always do it Wednesday nights at 8:00, but maybe we'll do something tomorrow night and get it together. And it also gives me another chance to maybe reach out to Ice, and maybe he'll come on. I don't know.
Hansen is now calling these past controversies publicity stunts. Why are we attempting to make justified conclusions for events that were unrelated to the point of this interview instead of even speaking about what ICE has been considered responsible for yet? He then mentions something about exploring these topics further. I'm just a little confused about why we're exploring these topics in the first place, especially when it has nothing to do with evidence that connects with Strawberry Vision and that he should have already finished his research before his designated interview. Hansen was also saying that they were going to figure out how they got hacked and a way to play the video next episode. So he confirms the video problem is completely different from the hacking problem. So then, why would he test the video before going live, and how would he know the video wasn't going to function if, again, he didn't try it? He also says Vincent and himself are going to sit down and figure out the problem after the show. So if we have not even identified the problem, how did you come back online? Did you just randomly come back on? If you did something to fix a technical issue, you should be able to find the source of the problem and that you were not hacked. Next, he says the videos cannot be played by the way they came back on air. How does that even make any sense at all when they haven't even attempted the video yet? And somehow, they know they can't stream the video before actually streaming it. Hansen continues on to say that, I was just thinking this out as we go along, meaning he has no script. This is very unusual to me, as I know someone with a background like his, and based off his previous interviews and videos, that he should have a script prepared for this. Also, if he just did a whole show with video, shouldn't he have an idea of what he was trying to point out and talk about this episode? Or at least Strawberry Vision? Are we really going to sit here and expect Chris Hansen had planned a whole interview completely unprepared when he knew Ice wasn't going to be on the show earlier? We will address more on Hansen being off script later in the video when we find out he isn't controlling when he asks the questions, along with the questions his assistant chooses. Chris poses the idea to reach out to Ice and see if he would possibly come on for an interview later, but next he talks about already speaking to him about a future interview with a collaboration that will not be on Hansen's own channel. As you will see coming up later, Hansen claims to be sure Paul will do an interview with him in the following weeks, perfectly timed around Paul's trip as well, after he just wasn't sure if he could get him on or not.
We did talk about doing an interview in the future, kind of on neutral territory, not necessarily on my show or on his stream, but another collaboration of some sort. And he brought that up, and I was open to discussing it, so I think we'll do it.
I'd like to mention now that if Chris Hansen already knew Ice was not going to be on the show, and even talked about future plans, then why did he go through with the show at 8 o'clock as if he was going to make an appearance? He proceeded to run a show more than an hour later, and struggling to find talking points relating to Ice Poseidon and especially the case of Strawberry Vision. I think the most probable scenario is that Hansen had full intent on doing this interview tonight with Ice, but as it was time for his appearance, Ice decided he had two options: enter the stream and ultimately face scrutiny for his actions that could possibly lead to serious prosecutions and penalties, followed by complete destruction of his career, or he could simply offer poor boy Hansen a small sum of money that would prevent the inevitable annihilation of his image and career. Knowing Ice, this doesn't seem like a hard decision. Earlier in the video, I pointed out he changed his stream name from Hansen Live Episode 19 Ice Poseidon to Hansen Live Episode 19 Ice Poseidon Update. I think this is because they had planned to have Paul on the stream and ask him questions in regards to the videos they had. It's also odd that when Paul was notified he'd be meeting Chris Hansen, he offered to do a collaboration instead of doing an interview or talking about Discord and all the nonsense. He appears to have holes in his already shaky story that conveniently covers for Paul multiple times, and deliberately avoids speaking or mentioning any case of a 13-year-old or Strawberry Vision. If we learned anything from 9th grade English, we can easily say Occam's razor applies to this. You have to make huge assumptions to agree and follow Hansen's own story. But if you say Ice simply paid off the Hansen, we see it's an act that benefits both individuals and would explain most of the assumptions you make for Hansen's argument.
But again, we can. I guess. What do you think, Vincent? Are we set up? Can we take some questions?
Absolutely.
And again, I feel bad because I feel like I'm shorting you on the show that I did and the show that we had prepared, and we had worked hard to put these video clips together. It kind of gives you a sense of what we're talking about here. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, those clips before. But, we'll take a couple questions here, but I promise you, we will do another show, a real show on Ice Poseidon, Paul Denino, where we dig into this a little more deeply with videos and have a more of an interactive experience. As you know, I sort of have one foot in this streaming YouTube community. Right. So are my people.
Are you fake?
Am I fake? No, I have Danish blood, Hansen.
Are you American or not American?
I was born here in the United States, but my
but your last name is not American.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for
okay.
And as I often say, I'll do 100 things between now and the end of the year. The vast majority will be on regular television, not here. But it doesn't mean I try to step it up and improve our production and sound and audio as we go along, because I appreciate you guys tuning in.
If you listen closely enough, you can hear at 3:31, or in this previous clip, Vincent actually asking Hansen to take a question. With Vincent telling Hansen to do a question, we can see that Hansen's in no control of the questions he actually answers. This, combined with the fact that these questions were so odd, leads me to believe that Ice was possibly selecting the questions. Back to my idea earlier that Hansen had intended to show the incriminating clips of Ice, this just confirms it. If the whole stream was originally about Discord and Strawberry Vision, those would be the only possible videos the viewers have collectively seen in regards to this case. Rather than resuming the question, he instead talks about doing most of his production on television still. Again, he hasn't been involved in any television production as far as I know since the end of Crime Watch Daily. I understand he needs to keep his image, but this is again just diverting from anything to do with Ice or answering questions.
Your loyalty. So let's take a couple questions now, and then I promise we'll do this again. We did actually put a lot of work into it. We had wires all over the place, and again, I did a whole show and didn't know until I finished that we got hacked and didn't go on the air. So anyway, Vincent, let's take a couple questions.
Joseph French wants to.
Joseph French.
Yes, he wants to just let you aware that the girl is actually 19, not 13.
I'm gonna fucking disown your sorry, pathetic fucking ass. I'm better than you, bitch. You got nothing over me. Fuck you.
Okay, so Joseph French.
Strawberry Vision.
Right. Who is the girl in question in one of these controversies involving Ice Poseidon, says that the girl Strawberry Vision is 19, not 13.
Correct.
Did you enjoy your tobacco? Because you gave me nothing! Told me nothing, dude. I came this far.
At the mouth.
I came this fucking far.
By the time he actually asked for the question, it has been over 36 seconds, and the original question has disappeared by the time we see Hansen actually ask Vincent for the question. Why are they selecting and saving comments so wrong? This just so happens to cover exactly what ICE would want. We know they are aware of Strawberry Vision and her age based on Hansen's original video calling out for Discord and that he said the girl in question. Even Vincent knew, as he assured Hansen it was Strawberry Vision. This is the first and last time we hear the name or age of Strawberry Vision mentioned in this whole video. Why is Strawberry Vision the girl in question if you refuse to speak a single word relating or referring to this girl in question, other than the fact Piss Boy didn't want him speaking on it? I'm sorry if I'm being skeptical here, but multiple defenses on ICE's behalf while refuting the whole point of the conversation by saying there is no evidence of child exploitation is ridiculous. I have no journalistic experience, nor have I investigated a single case before, but even I know Chris Hansen really missed the ball on this one. And that's with 30 years prior experience. Mistakes like that aren't easily made.
Again, my gut here after talking to ICE and after watching a lot of these videos is that he is, kind of what Howard Stern was 30 years ago. He does shocking stuff or things that get people's attention, and that's why they watch, view, subscribe, and donate. And so people live this life with him. He likes to go on the streets and stop. And sometimes be outrageous.
We're just kidding around.
Ladies, come here. Can I have a walk? I love you so much. Oh my god. Oh, I seen that.
Yeah.
You have a nice ass.
Yeah. Fucking sexual harassment is fucking awesome.
So when you say 12 is the new 18, you're gonna draw some controversy. If you suggest or somebody suggests that somebody was 13 when they're actually 19, no law is broken.
Chris actually had the audacity to compare an alleged predator to the likes of Howard Stern. This grew some controversy among the community, but was quickly dropped. This is an outrageous claim that attempts to compare the actions of Paul Denino to the likes of Howard Stern using their controversy as the main comparison. These are two very different types of controversy. One is wild and outrageous, while the other is an accused predator who performs outrageous public acts for money. I don't really see the comparison there, and I don't see the basis to even put them on the same level. This entire statement is a defense on ICE's actions recently and in the case. I have no idea why he would make an insane comparison with the knowledge of ICE's involvement on Discord. You cannot try to justify a man as doing publicity stunts while he's in the midst of real evidence concerning his conversation with a 13-year-old girl. You also cannot say no law is broken until we find out whether or not he is truly guilty or innocent in this case. Until then, you should assume that it is the most likely probability that he is guilty. So then why is Chris constantly making defenses on ICE's behalf, rather than speaking about even a single possibility of ICE's involvement in the case of Strawberry Vision, or even mentioning that the case exists?
I mean, I did a fair amount of digging on this between last week when we had Only Use Me Blade on, talking about some of the things that he was allegedly accused of.
It's okay, dude. It's okay, dude. Okay, so here's the thing, dude. A lot of people think that they're special. So the thing is, though, is that you died and you fucking became ground filler, and then you just died, and then you're like all sad and shit, and you're like looking back at my shit, tuning into my live stream, and you're figuring it out. And the thing is, though, is like, maybe you're a piece of shit. Fuck you. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. Sorry that I'm better than you, but die. Go. Go. Scram. Get out of here. Get out of here. You fucking scrum-dealing, yumptious ass bitch. Go. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
And I could find, and I've been doing this 37 years, I could find no confirmation anywhere of a federal law enforcement or local law enforcement investigation into Ice Poseidon, Paul Denino, having to do with any sort of child exploitation, violation of pornography laws that I could see anywhere. And look, let's just be real. The environment on Discord subreddit is such that anybody can make any allegation anytime. Now, I've looked at these videos. I'm offended by some of them. I would never do what he does, but I'm not that guy. I do a whole different thing.
I just fucking spent fucking like 2 hours talking to those people. I'm being accused of doing like crazy shit.
This is what you do. You do this victim shit. You do this victim shit. You do this victim shit. You do this victim shit.
Because I feel like I'm doing everything right now.
The whole point of having you investigate Ice Poseidon is to find out whether or not he is truly a child predator or not. Regardless of the federal investigation, you still had evidence to look into this case in the first place. Just because a federal investigation isn't currently ongoing, that doesn't mean in any way he is less likely a suspect. Anyone who commits a crime isn't going to be investigated until the police feel there is enough reason to begin a proper investigation. That can take weeks and even months after a crime has already happened. Hansen continues on his defense for Ice's actions in this case by alluding to the possibility that they were just false allegations posted to Discord or Reddit. If the videos he mentions have anything to do with the case, then he cannot say it was possibly false allegations, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't talking about an Ice compilation.
So, you be the judge. You can watch them or not watch them, but we will get these clips together and do this show properly. But again, we'll take a couple more questions. Vincent?
SV_GDD.
Right.
Says CX equals child exploitation. Would you like to?
All right. One of our viewers tonight says CX means child exploitation. CX, my understanding, and I've talked to some people who are former moderators in this world over the last week, 10 days. CX is the smiley face with the cross-out eyes is how this started. And I guess it kind of became, a logo, if you will, for the Purple Army, which is how a lot of ISIS followers are known. And other people have taken the CX a step further to say it stands for child exploitation.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to mention here is that question Vincent selected. Either Vincent just straight up memed on Hansen, or he was told to select that one plain and simple. If you think for a second I'm going to sit here and believe that Chris Hansen would allow Vincent to ask something so ridiculous, and not even a question relating to anything about the case, or that Hansen himself talked about, then you're most likely right. I didn't even realize this myself until it dawned on me how ridiculous this whole thing was. This was just so uncharacteristic of the Hansen I once knew. Do you really think that Hansen's associate that he's had on for multiple episodes would ask something like this? Absolutely not. I've went back through about 7 of his previous episodes, including the account of Only Use Me Blade, and normally Vincent is very decent and descriptive with his questions. I'd also like to mention from his previous streams that Hansen himself can see the chat from his chair. Anyways, the question, much like the first one, was previously selected and saved by Vincent or another party, possibly Ice Poseidon, from some sort of rip between space and time devoid of all possibilities. I mean literally as well. I could not find this comment anywhere in the entire week of solid research, rewatching the episode to the point of exhaustion, revision, and desperate attempts to remove the image of Chris Hansen I get when I close my eyes. I know SV_GDD is a real viewer. However, I know without a doubt that the question was not asked at least 3 minutes prior to when it was talked about on the stream. Seriously, why? Why would the mysterious Vincent snap like that? This is just like Ice. He's not a serious or necessarily very smart person. He just does shit because he thinks it's funny. Ice probably saw this in the chat and was like, watch what I'm going to make him say. Because this is the furthest thing from a serious question or a question relating to the case of Strawberry Vision or Ice himself, really.
Again, could it in some areas of the digital world, the streaming world? Yes, but again, there's no evidence that Ice Poseidon has engaged in any actual child exploitation. I mean, yes, dancing around with a girl who says she's 14 on camera, is it exploitive in a way? You could say that, but from a legal standpoint, I've heard nothing or seen nothing out of the law enforcement community that suggests that he's broken the law.
What? No, we're gonna get arrested. You're baiting us. Okay. Okay.
I'm not.
Let's go, Dang.
Oh,
if we get arrested, Dang, let's go. Hey, bro, he gonna be the first one. He gonna.
We need for more.
Bro, she's baiting us, dude. You're baiting us.
This small clip here is quite a doozy, as we can now see Hansen literally says there's no evidence that Ice Poseidon has engaged in any child exploitation. This, of course, blew my mind. Did Chris Hansen forget he was doing an investigation? How can you say there's no evidence Ice Poseidon is engaged in any child exploitation if the whole reason you made an episode was to have Ice come on and explain his story from Discord? If he doesn't think Discord is evidence, why are we having this show in the first place? Especially if there isn't any evidence at all. This is just another obvious attempt to avoid speaking on his Discord allegations by saying there is no evidence of child exploitation from a legal standpoint. He even brings up a video of him dancing with a girl who says she's 14 on camera. Instead of the biggest, most relevant, and current evidence against him that was the whole reason we were all here. This is again just another defensive statement for Ice with no valid reason to express it. Instead of mentioning the main topic, he just mentions a 14-year-old girl and a 9-year-old girl from the news. Two topics that are completely unrelated and have nothing to do with their current investigation into Discord.
A lot of talk about police raids at his house. I gather, at least at this stage of reporting on this, that most of that has to do with swatting trolls and people who are, for whatever reason, angry with Ice.
What's going on, my nigga? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Say it louder.
My nigga! My motherfucking... Oh, shit! I'm sorry! No! No, we're good! You set me up! My friend Chico and I used to fuck all the time as a joke.
Calling police and saying something's going on at his home. The police respond, and it's a big incident. And it can be deadly, swatting. There was a case within the last year where a guy was playing a video game and got into a beef with another guy, and they swatted him, and he came out on his front porch, bleary-eyed and dazed from gaming for hours at a time, and didn't respond to the police commands.
Police! Hey! Police! Get up!
Yo, what the fuck?
They shot him dead. Horrible story. All because of swatting, and there have been many other near tragedies because of it. So it's no game, and a lot of people like to hide behind their multiple aliases online and make allegations and do things and create graphics and allegations. And listen, I've experienced it to a lesser degree. I get it, but it's not right.
The only way to make her leave is to make her uncomfortable. Just come here. Just get in her face.
I called him and I
Just
said,
get a fucking. She won't leave us alone, dude.
I'm not. I have been gone. I literally sit in my room.
You just won't
yesterday,
go.
I was in the room all day yesterday alone. I was in the room all day yesterday. Today, I'm always alone. What do you mean I don't leave you alone? I'm always alone.
Nobody believes you.
Here we go again, with Hansen making Ice out to look like a victim of relentless abuse and allegations as another defense for him not being on the show. As wrong as swatting is, this has nothing to do with Ice's disposition and a lot more to do with the very real allegations standing before him. The fact that he's bringing this up for a second time just shows how hard he is riding Ice Poseidon. I'd understand if he was giving a neutral standpoint until Ice could defend himself, but this entire video fails to address any real points against Ice and only includes defenses in the absence of the suspect. Towards the end of the clip, we see Hansen again reaffirming the possibility that the allegations were simply falsified against Paul.
That's it? A couple more?
Yeah, rogue_thing.
Rogue_thing.
Yeah. Statement. With him being like Howard Stern 30 years ago, does this mean he could still be very inappropriate to all ages?
No, I'm not. Again, the question is, the analogy with him being Howard Stern 30 years ago, does that mean it's okay for him acting inappropriate to underage girls? No, it's not okay. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I don't condone it. I think it's creepy, and I think it's wrong. And I think it's borderline predator-like behavior. But has he taken it to a level of breaking the law? And I've not seen that evidence.
Caroline, listen.
I don't want to be with a bunch of streams in front of me. You guys are like blaming me for something I didn't even do, and I'm like, I don't know what more to do. I hide every day. I hid in the hotel room all yesterday. I wanted to finally get some sun for the first time today.
I don't know what to do.
This was the third question asked that night, and it was a little bit different than the others we covered. This time, the question was asked at 9:15 and answered 6 seconds later at 9:21. After having now 2 extremely suspicious questions that were specifically saved to be said, we have this comment that is actually somewhat relevant to the conversation on the basis of his comparison to Howard Stern. There isn't really enough evidence here to make a proper determination of this question's legitimacy or not. I will, however, say that what I think most likely happened was that ICE either decided to use this question for its innocence in relation to the case and relevance to the conversation, or possibly because of his own admiration for Howard Stern's style that he has voiced before. If not, then I suspect they allowed Vincent to select a normal question from the chat himself. Anyways, Chris did actually go on the offensive here to verbally display his disgust for ICE's actions, and in the same sentence calls them borderline predatorial behavior. Just as quickly as my hopes for this interview disappeared, he then switched to say once again, there's no evidence implying ICE has broken any laws.
Plain and simple. Now, I should say that when I talked to ICE earlier today, we had a lengthy phone call Vincent was on the line with, and you know, one of his concerns coming on the show was, you know, the name of the YouTube channel is Hansen versus Predators. And he said, by going on the show, I automatically take the role of the Predator.
So after having a lengthy conversation with ICE and just doing an entire episode talking about his conversation, he's managed to make a whole whopping 2 points from their entire conversation. The first one was defending ICE for not appearing on the show, and the second was that they spoke about having a future meeting with a possible collaboration. What else could they be talking about if he didn't think there was more than at least 2 details that were important enough to share? As I've said earlier, Hansen knows damn well there is no reason ICE can't make an appearance unless he was unable to provide his own innocence, as you will hear next.
I said, look, I've had victims of child trafficking on this show. I've had police chiefs. I've had criminal defense lawyers. I've had all kinds of people on this show. None of them are predators. That's the name of the franchise. And so we use that for the website and for the YouTube.
As you can see, Chris is obviously aware that being on the show has no real negative impacts if you can prove your innocence. So now, why did he make multiple defenses for ICE being a victim of abuse and accusations? That shouldn't be an excuse if these people, who I'm sure value their images much more than Paul, have previously appeared on this same show to provide proof of their innocence. If Chris Hansen really felt ICE was wrong for not coming on the show, I'm sure he would have voiced his concern over this and brought up many of the same points I've made throughout this whole video.
So I think he's going to do an interview with me or some sort of collaboration and dig a little deeper into that world. I can't promise you it's going to be, this week, but, now that we're going to redo this show and get a little deeper into it, I'll give him that opportunity, obviously. So, and again, we had a good chat today.
I was referencing this clip earlier in the video in regards to his uncertainty if they would be able to get Paul back onto the show. Here, he seems very confident that he will be getting an interview in a little over a week or so. I mentioned this because I was pretty sure he had already made plans with Paul during their downtime to reschedule the event for some time after their RV trip. And that's why he's able to confidently tell us now that he will most likely have an interview, and why he specifically knows it will not be this week, when earlier he was talking about even the possibility of having him on the next day. Now here's the funny part. As I was working on part of this video, I noticed Chris finally posted his update that was promised last week in some form, but never given. Hansen was entirely correct that it would be over a week, and here his prophecy came true. I'm sorry, but I find it really hard to believe that Chris Hansen couldn't get ICE on the first time around, and then somehow prophesizes his exact next interview/collaboration confidently after ICE mentioned all this before his appearance, and did not come on the show. He even said they had a great conversation, but still somehow couldn't tell us about it.
They talk about that in FBI raid, there has been law enforcement activity at his various residences over the years, but there is, at least not that I'm aware of, there is no formal FBI investigation into Paul Denino, Ice Poseidon. There have been investigations into accusations of things going on at the house, but nothing that I'm aware of that constitutes any illegal solicitation or child exploitation. So,
Just making me look crazy for the stream, and it freaks me
Make you
out.
look crazy. You're actually a little bit crazy.
If saying he doesn't have any investigations pending twice wasn't enough to convince you, surely it will this time. Hansen has continuously said this to the point of no return. I cannot physically see any person who is not blatantly defending a case saying these things even more than once about the suspect. Hansen has no reason to be at Paul's defense when the point of Hansen versus Predator is to evaluate their story and to make appropriate inferences on whether or not to prosecute the suspect.
With that, I'm going to wrap it up. Well, we got one more. Vincent, go ahead.
Memology 101 jumped on board here.
Memology 101 jumped on board, and he has been a critic of Ice Poseidon's, right?
Right.
So fairly vocal.
Mm-hmm.
We're aware of Memology 101. What does he have to say tonight?
Basically, he's saying that Ice Poseidon's team is doing a cover up, and it's worse than the Epstein case, and also that there's leaked chats that implicate Ice knew he was talking to a 13-year-old.
Right. Memology 101 is saying that there is chatter, some sort of reference out there in the streaming digital world about Ice Poseidon, Paul Denino's behavior, chatting with girls who are allegedly underage. We're going to look at that. We're going to try and talk to him again about it, and that again, we'll explore that, and we'll pick apart some of these videos when we redo this show. But again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I think we had some hacking going on because it was something we've never experienced before. We've had technical difficulties, obviously, all people do, but this was something we'd never seen before.
This was just more proof that Chris Hansen was not selecting his own questions here. As we can see, Hansen was already prepared to wrap it up, but just before he finished saying that, he realizes that Vincent is somehow trying to signal him for another question, as he has no intention of taking another one. Why has he put on an act this whole show? To pretend that these questions were purely random? Not to mention this one was actually an email from Memology, who even sent a donation informing Chris of his email at 7:40. It wasn't until he finally announced the end of the stream that he actually took his question at 12:25. Even after being made aware via donation at 7:40, they answered other questions instead. Next, I'd like to mention that they were fully aware of who Memology was and what he has done in regards to Ice's situation, as they call him a critic of Ice Poseidon. Memology has only recently made a single video in criticism of Ice's events, and that was the infamous video exposing Ice for his chats with Strawberry Vision, and even providing evidence of their multiple attempts at a cover-up. If that's the case, then how can Chris explain the fact that he completely avoided talking about what he knew Memology was referring to? He even goes as far as to call the Discord evidence a chatter or reference in the streaming digital world about Ice's behavior chatting with girls who are allegedly underage. He then says, we're going to look at that, we're going to try to talk to him about it. So if he already talked to Ice or had intended to talk to Ice, he must have knew about the case of Strawberry Vision. We also know when he first proposed to do an episode with Paul, he mentioned Discord. At this point, it would be a pretty hard stretch to say he wasn't aware of Strawberry Vision's existence at the time of this interview, with the evidence I have supplied and his own comment on Strawberry Vision being the girl in question at the beginning of the video. Now, if he was in any way seriously attempting this case and honest about it, he wouldn't mention Strawberry Vision as 19, not 13, and then have no idea about her now when answering this question directed towards her. Instead of talking about statements from Memology that there were cover-ups, leaked chats, and that she was 13, he alternatively just rephrased the leaked chats as a chatter reference to the streaming digital world about Ice and changed that her age is 13 to girls allegedly underage. If we can agree that Hansen knew about Strawberry Vision, he should have no reason to cover that up for Ice in this situation, as he has just done, especially when he himself said she was 19 on stream.
So we're going to put it all back together. I'll put an announcement out tomorrow by midday as to when we'll do the full show again, and we'll take some precautions so we don't get hacked.
Ice, oh my God, is that Ice Poseidon? Oh, you went to You just said, wait, he needs to have this.
Oh my God! Come here.
You need
Give me this. What is that?
Take that. I love you. I need you.
And finally, we see Hansen claiming to give a supposed update the day after the stream that never came. Why did this update fail to appear, you may wonder? Well, that is because we've all been taken for a ruse cruise across the ocean of fucking piss. Now that I've hopefully explored enough topics and ideas for you to confidently base your own decisions upon, I will explain what I feel truly happened in this case. I believe Chris Hansen had entirely planned to do the show at 8 o'clock, but as time drew close for Poseidon's appearance, he resorted to bribery, knowing there was no other option to protect his image, career, and source of income. This alone gives Ice a very good reason to do this. Either he loses his source of income, or he pays a small sum to maintain his cash flow and protect himself. Not only would Paul benefit off this deal, but he also knew Hansen could greatly benefit off this as well. Any amount of money for a man who has just attempted to bounce multiple checks for his own merchandise is obviously willing to take any money he can. This being said, if Paul did what I have suggested he did, then that would also explain why we had to wait for over an hour. This also sheds light on the fact that Hansen and Vincent should have known they were not broadcasting live. I feel that once notified, Chris took the opportunity by the balls and ran with it. So now that he accepted to work with Ice on this case, he had no choice but to abandon all script he had and find an excuse to cover for his absence. The perfect excuse would be technological issues or hacking, of which he used both. If that's true, that would explain why he claimed to have technical issues so that he could cover for the videos he can no longer show, and he used hacking to reason for why he wasn't able to show us the first show, along with why he was offline for so long. Simply saying he was hacked doesn't cover for the video, and saying that he had technological issues does not cover for the first stream not appearing with working videos. He can't explain one without the other. This is why Hansen seems to be off this entire interview. I know somebody with over 30 years experience in journalism would never come into a broadcast completely unprepared unless they had gotten rid of their script for some reason. So he came up with the story using the time of his supposed hacking to figure out how he was going to go about this interview, avoiding talking about Ice's involvement in the case and Strawberry Vision. This is why he is repeating the same slightly defensive statements and excuses throughout the entire video. He only had a short time to figure out his statements about Ice and about the interview, so he came up with a few topics to regurgitate to us multiple times in order to cover for his deserted script. This is also why he refused to speak on the videos and Strawberry Vision with multiple chances to talk about it. Hansen also did not talk to Ice before the previous airing of the show. I believe once Ice paid him off, they simply decided to gather the content of the stream and topics that can and cannot be brought up. Along with this, they made their plans to have a different interview or collaboration a little over a week from the current video we saw. That is why we see Hansen contradict himself over when he will be having Ice on the stream. He couldn't appear to have known this. Along with all the prior accounts, it would explain why Hansen pretends to select the questions from Vincent while he is informed on what he should select. This is why the first question is something Hansen and Vincent both know is wrong, and why Vincent would even remotely think CX equals child exploitation is a good question. This is also why all the questions were specifically avoiding Ice, except for, of course, the comment that defended Ice's stance on her being 19, and for Memology's question that had to be read unless they wanted a lot of speculation from him and the community on what Memology had to say. That is also why they held it for the very last one, so that they could have the least amount of viewership, and so that they could briefly touch on it, as he did, instead of explaining about what he knew. Lastly, this makes sense of Hansen's senseless talk about how they got back on air. If they were really hacked or had technical difficulties, they would have had a much better explanation for it, or at least been prepared instead of making apologies and defenses on the behalf of possible child predator Paul Denino. Even if you still disagree that Chris Hansen has been bought out at this point, I think we can all at least come together and agree that there is many questions here that Hansen needs to address before we can definitively trust his credibility again. Given the chance, I would like to personally interview and question Hansen on the information I have obtained to bring us closer to the truth of Ice Poseidon and his true intentions. If Hansen himself believes with confidence in the validity of his story, he should have no problem coming on to take a seat with me and setting some things straight. If you would like to see this happen, please reach out to Hansen with a link to my video asking him to take a seat. We may not be able to refund our time wasted after all this, some more than others, but we can come together to make our time well spent by seeing the conclusion of this case as a whole. I have worked endlessly the past 8 days and put an exuberant amount of time and effort to see this case through, and I'm hoping you will come together with me in saying that we want to see real justice served in the case of Ice Poseidon. It sickens me to see a man who is so self-absorbed and even accused of child exploitation walk free and lavishly through his everyday life, while there are real, serious, and honest people who struggle day to day to even make an income. I myself am no exception from this, as I live with constant financial struggles that continue to build and prevent me from achieving the things I want in life. Even with that said, I've taken every waking hour recently to make this video as well made and descriptive as I possibly can to hopefully spread much needed awareness on this topic. Thank you for giving me the time to express my ideas and passions in this case for you. If you guys like this video and are interested in more, subscribe and maybe I'll make more people like this one, I don't know. But thank you guys so much again, and if you get the chance to spread this to Chris Hansen, I will gladly do an interview with him.
They're very excited about the show. In fact, I did the whole show just for myself and Vincent, as it turns out. So, fly the flag, and remember, I'll be watching. So take care. Have a good night. And I'll put that announcement out tomorrow, and we'll get it all sorted out. Thanks again for tuning in.
See you later, Caroline. Goodbye.
Oh, no, please. Oh.
What makes you funny, though?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Ice Poseidon.
Ice Poseidon who?
Ice Poseidon's dead career.
Oh, that's a funny joke, dude.